They drafted Brown. Here are his thoughts.
So what is your assessment of what's going on there with your experience with Antonio and the Steelers from afar?
From afar, it's just too much miscommunication, too much diva. I just don't. I've heard so many stories, and I like Antonio. He plays as hard as anybody on Sunday, and he practices hard. They just got to make better decisions off the field, be on time, do some of those little things.
Well, that was from the Adam Schefter podcast. And again, Bruce Arians was with the Steelers when they drafted Antonio Brown. He coached him, so he has some familiarity there then, not that he does now. But, Coach, I'll start with you and simply say this. Sounds good, sounds bad.
Well, it sounds bad. I think I had Antonio Brown, in a Pro Bowl, and so I have spent time with the young man. No doubt about his talent and what he's accomplished and what he's capable of. I think, but at some point in an organization, you have to say enough's enough. And there's always been a maintenance meter. And when a guy's, production is up above that maintenance, then, life can go on. But once it gets level or below, I think it's time for a change. And it sounds like that change is about to come to fruition.
And now that things are starting to calm down a little bit and you're seeing how Antonio Brown probably is not going to be there and Le'Veon Bell is not going to be there, and, if I'm a player in the Steeler locker room, initially it's like, good, all this drama is going to be gone. But now you start to think a little bit. Yeah. And you think like, okay,
so are these numbers?
No, AB's not going to be there. Lev's not going to be there. What are we going to do? Because James Conner had an outstanding season. That was great. But when Conner went down, then that's when you see the drop-off. So Juju Smith-Schuster, right? He ended up having even a more productive year than Antonio Brown in some numbers. So what happens when Juju goes down? So now you're looking at the depth now of your football team if you're a football player on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now it's like almost like we got to, if these two aren't coming back, one isn't. So maybe AB, both of them aren't. We got to start getting some players in here. They're going to have to pick up a lot of this production because the depth now of that football team is not as good.
It's interesting, Josina, because we started this discussion after the Steelers lost by saying, well, they'll have to work it out, right? Antonio Brown has to be back. This, that, and the other thing about the cap hit. I think Art Rooney's comments changed that when he said, no, we're not going to let him walk. We'll trade it. We'll try to figure something out. But it does not sound like he'll be back.
Well, a couple things. One, it sounds bad to me as far as Arians' comments, but not for what you said. For me, it sounds bad because I don't want to hear Bruce Arians making those comments about Antonio Brown. He is not on anybody's team. You might still need a wide receiver. We don't even know what's happening with Deshaun Jackson with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, it's a great get for Adam Schefter. It's great to hear. I like Bruce Arians. I like a coach with a can go. I like his staff. I like all that. But I don't know that I want to hear that from Bruce Arians about AB, no matter how true it may be. The other thing is that, even though this situation seems dire, I hate to think of any situation as irreparable when both sides still have an opportunity to show humility, get all the media noise out of your head and everything, and still make it work. Because at the end of the day, good players don't grow on trees. And a good example of this also to me is in Miami, where you just think, oh, you can just get anybody, right? And Ndamukong Suh left, Jay Ajayi left, Jarvis Landry left. Now your head coach is gone. And then all of a sudden you look around, you just like in Philadelphia, you need players to make it work. So don't get too high on your britches. Like, you've never made a mistake ever in your life. I'm talking about coaches, staff people, players. There's no question that what Antonio Brown did, leaving the, game, leaving your, teammates behind, that is not a good look. But I hate to talk about it so much like everybody else is above that and, no one else has made a mistake and it can't be repaired if humility comes to that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because at the end of the day, this is a player who has the most receiving yards in reception since he came into the league, and that does not grow on trees. And maybe he can humble himself to make it work still.
So you're saying head coaches should only comment on players on their own team?
No.
I'm saying no. Coach,
probably not a bad thought.
That's okay. That's okay. That's really something you should follow.
But he did get asked a question.
He did. Hold on. Because let me respond to that. Let me make myself clear. Bruce Arians is a grown man, just like all of you are grown men, and we are grown women. He can say whatever he wants, and I have no problem with the fact that he's exercising that. I'm just saying, with my particular opinion, I don't prefer to hear that, just because you never know what, how things might shake out. You may need Antonio Brown. You don't know what's happening with wide receivers on your team, and you're trying to do well on your team, and you never know how things shake out if someone apologizes, whatever. So I'm just saying it was better left
Let me
said,
add
in
this,
my
Coach,
opinion.
to the mix just real quick, because Art Rooney has apparently just met with members of the media in Pittsburgh. Ed Bouchette, who's covered this team for quite some time, has just tweeted this. This is from Art Rooney, who also made those comments about he didn't see a way back. No trade discussions yet for Antonio Brown, and while he's keeping doors open, as far as his returning to the Steelers, there's not that many signs out there that that's going to happen. I will say this, he's doubling down on the fact, Josina, that this likely won't work out.
While
and you talk about
he's keeping door, while he's, I'm just saying it's not final until.
No,
well, why is it true? Why is it?
The only good news
can't apologize.
But he hasn't shown a willingness to do
not
that
yet,
as
but
of
there's
yet.
Still, but we're not even at the Super Bowl yet. There's a whole bunch of time.
That's what I'm
is
saying.
the rush?
The good news is
putting
there's
a cap
plenty of
on
time.
it?
And it is the off season. You never know. I hope they can repair.
If he ends up staying with the Steelers, all of y'all owe me $100.
Antonio,
look, I'm not saying it can't be done.
I'm just saying, not saying that he hasn't done things, but I'm just saying it's not done yet.
It is never done until it's done. We do know that. But again, that was from Art Rooney just a few minutes ago.
That was from Art Rooney.
That was from Art Rooney. Last I checked on the team.
Yes.
Okay.
While the doors are numbed.
Here we go.
He's tweeting now.
Jason Garrett, you've probably heard of him. If you haven't, let me fill you in. He's the head coach in Dallas, and he has been so since relieving Wade Phillips in 2010. He's earned a .566 win percentage, 3 10-win seasons. The problem, though, he's never advanced past the divisional round during his tenure. Here's Jerry Jones.
When I look at what our coaching staff and how it's evolved, I give it a good grade. When I look around at what other teams are doing and trying to do to find their head coach, if Jason Garrett had been out on the market 2 weeks ago, he would have had 5 offers for head coaching.
All right, we're gonna ask the same question. Sounds good, sounds bad. I do want to add one thing, though. I don't know about 5, but I will say this coaching cycle has been somewhat bizarre, and I can certainly see Jerry Jones' point as he looks around the league and some of the suspect decisions that have been made to think he's got himself a pretty good coach. That's all I'm going to say. So Teddy, I'll start with you. Sounds good, sounds bad.
I mean, I don't know about 5 offers either, but I think he would have. I mean, I think it sounds good. I just remember watching that game, and I mean, that defense can't stop anything. I mean, you can't set the edge in the running game. Whoever's playing the edge, they're getting thrown on the ground. Gurley and CJ. I mean, they're just running like your defense isn't even playing out there. I don't know if that's defensive coaching. That's defensive playing. So, I mean, Jason Garrett, getting that playoff win and getting to there, there's only a certain point where you can blame a coach, in my opinion. You get to the game, I'm sure you have those goals of setting the edge, building a wall, stopping the run, and then you go ahead and have 2 running backs go for over 100. So, I mean, players had to step up on that defense, and it just didn't get done for them.
I mean, no coach in the world say, here's an idea. Let's let him run all over us and see where that leads us. I mean, that wasn't the game plan, clearly.
No, I think, in answer to what Jerry Jones said, I think it sounds good, too. I think Jason would have definitely been in the market. You look at some of the head coaching hires, I agree with Wendy. There's no doubt he would have had options. Let's not forget, this football team is a young football team in transition. I don't think anybody had them picked to be being in the NFC Championship game at this point before the season started. I think starting 3-5 and what they were accomplished with the Amari Cooper trade, now I think they can resemble the big 3. I'm not saying they're there yet, but this team is in transition, and the fact they made the playoffs and beat a good Seattle Seahawks team to advance, I don't think, I'd say they overproduced this year, in my opinion, and I don't think anybody saw them being in the NFC Championship game.
I mean, I'm looking for situational failures where a head coach makes the decision that, no, man, that was the wrong thing to do, or because, I mean, I see with Jason Garrett. Is he the best coach in the league? No. Is Dak, the best quarterback left was he left in the playoffs? No. I mean, those two. I mean, you got to make plays with players is what I'm trying to say, and it just didn't happen. So I saw nothing in this playoff cycle that showed me that Jason Garrett deserves to get fired.
Right. I agree with you. JoJo? No?
Okay.
Different take?
So we're trying to assess what sounds good, sounds bad. The fact that Jerry Jones said that he thinks that Jason Garrett would have had like about 5 offers, correct? And so I'm going to put this back to the gentleman on the set. So if he were to have received the job, who would have been interested out of the 8 vacancies that were there? I'm trying to figure out of the 8 vacancies, and listen, this is no disrespect to Jason. I think he's a great man. He's always been kind to me. But when you look at the way that the coaches were hired across the league, they were looking for young, new, innovative, and then with Denver hiring a defensive coach in Vic Fangio, and with Miami presumably hiring Brian Flores, I'm trying to figure out where would Jason Garrett have gone. So I don't actually see that. I see the two turnarounds for the Cowboys happening because of this, because of the trade of Amari Cooper, which happened to open up the offense, and because of the play of that defense, which even Rod Marinelli said himself is in large part because of Chris Richard. So I'm trying to figure out where, based on Jason Garrett's track record of 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, that you all see all of this abundance of demand that would have been for Jason Garrett in terms of being ahead, especially with where the trends were going this season.
Get off the 8-8 and 8-8 and 8-8. There are division titles out there.
They were in the
there are playoff wins out there. You don't think he would have been interviewed?
There's only 12 of the 32 that get there.
I don't think. I don't see where it was. I mean, when you look at Cliff Kingsbury, when you look at Matt LaFleur, when you look at who else was hired? Zach Taylor, that's getting ready to be hired by the Bengals. When you look at Adam Gase, when they're looking for people who can coach quarterbacks, that specifically that's what they're looking for. I don't see anything that points to, in Jason Garrett's background, where it says, boom, spotlight, quarterback whisperer, and above 8-8, 8-8, 8-8.
I got one for you. He was one of the 12 in the playoffs. Those other 8 you mentioned, don't get me wrong, they weren't anywhere near the playoffs.
And I put that more on the defensive performance that they had. Even Rod Marinelli, this is Rod Marinelli saying himself. He said, whatever I have to do to help this organization keep Chris Richard, that is what's happening. And remember where they were before the transaction was made for Amari Cooper. And there are people even in Dallas themselves talking about questioning the keeping the offensive coordinator and Scott Linehan and Jason Garrett, who again has 9 lives with what he's doing.
The way this coaching thing goes, you get fired. Look what happened to Adam Gase. Yeah. All right, he goes from the Dolphins to the Jets. Garrett would have been interviewed. Yep. Garrett, it is a possibility. All right, Jones exaggerated with five offers. Jerry Jones, okay, but Garrett would have been interviewed. He would have been considered to be a head coach somewhere else.
Here's to me that we're judging the sentiment of this. Either 5 or would he have whatever. To me, it sounds good, sounds bad. Jerry Jones endorsing his coach, and at this point,
it sounds good.
That sounds good to me. I mean, we criticize what happened in Arizona with Steve Wilkes and the one and done and whatever, and we say continuity and consistency wins in this league.
You guys forget all the chatter that was happening before the Cooper trade. This was not the narrative at all on Jason Garrett.
But the Cooper trade happened.
Yes.
Right, but
then after that, they were a different football team.
No doubt. No doubt. It's players, not plays.
Well, you know whose opinion matters? One, Jerry Jones. And he has endorsed his coach, so we move on because Jerry being Jerry says it is. You know what? I think, I don't know if he got 5 or 10 or no offers, but he's the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I do know that.
And he should be.
Yeah, and he should be. The Patriots have never lost to a quarterback playing in his first postseason, but Patrick Mahomes has shattered so many expectations this year. We'll have a report from Kansas City next. Chicago has been hit with a major spike in gun violence. Mahomes in his first career postseason run. We should mention the Patriots have usually had their way with these type things. Under Belichick, the Patriots are perfect 10-0 against quarterbacks in their first postseason. They win by an average of nearly 15 points per game. The last quarterback to win a Super Bowl in the same season he made his first NFL postseason start, Teddy, was who? Tom Brady. You were there.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, I know you were. Here's Chiefs quarterback Pat Mahomes on what it's like to play in an AFC championship game.
There's 4 teams left. You're playing against the Patriots, who are in the AFC championship game every single year of my entire life, pretty much. And so it's definitely a huge game. We're excited for the opportunity, and we're glad we're getting to play the best and getting to compete against the best at this time of the year. And when you play teams of this caliber, you play teams with this much history of knowing how to win and capitalizing on people's mistakes. You can't come back and win games like that. We have to come out with our best effort from the beginning of the game all the way through the end, and it's going to be a dogfight for the entire game if you want to try to come out with a win. I think the weather doesn't make any difference in how these fans are going to come out this weekend, honestly. I know this stadium's going to be rocking. And I know these fans are going to enjoy this as much as we are, trying to go out there and win the AFC and bring that Lamar Hunt trophy back.
I mean, the kid's got ice in his veins, Adam Teicher, and it's a good thing because there's going to be plenty of ice once again as we get set for a second straight weekend at Arrowhead of frigid temps. How are the Chiefs getting ready to handle that?
Yeah, they're doing the best that they can possibly do right now, Wendy, given the conditions. They're earlier in the week, they had crews unloading snow from the practice field coming out by the truck full off the practice field with all the snow that had fallen over the weekend. Today, I noticed earlier they had heaters under the protective tarp to try to soften the field to get them ready to practice outside today. Now, as for Pat Mahomes, he said he doesn't plan to wear a glove during the game. He said he's used to playing and practicing in cold temperatures because of his time at Texas Tech when they didn't have a indoor practice facility when he was at Tech, so they always were outside. And he said he's ready to go, but I don't think they've had in Lubbock, Texas, quite the extreme temperatures like they're going to have on Sunday in Kansas City.
No, I'm no meteorologist, but it would seem that to be the case. A little different there. Listen, Damian Williams has been tremendous. Exactly what this team needed to step in and settle into a role. How has he handled the extra reps?
Yeah, it's been quite a ride for Damian Williams. He was a third-string running back as recently as 2 months ago. He got the ball just one time against the Patriots when they played back in October. Now, it's interesting because when he became the starter, I went to some Chiefs officials and said, hey, are you a little nervous about him having to play? And they said, no, we think he can handle this, that this is not going to be too big for him. And so far, they've been right. Williams was a backup for 4 years with Miami before he came here, so he's been waiting his turn. He said he plays with a passion and an emotion that's been pent up for all these years he's been a backup. I also asked Andy Reid about Williams, and he told me that Williams puts his own personality on it, on the position. He likes giving his opponents and even teammates in practice the business, as Reid said, and he likes getting it back as well. That gets him into the game. So Chiefs have been asking a lot from Damian Williams in recent weeks, and he's been delivering.
Well, listen, good for him and good for the Chiefs. You know, I mean, it has served them well. Adam, thank you. Listen, you're going to hear a lot about temperature and all that. And you know, on Sunday, everybody likes to pull out the thermometers. They'll be down there on the field. You know, I mean, we all do it. It's like, oh, it's cold. Okay, well, it is cold, and we have our own thermometer. We're going to talk about some hot matchups, shall we, Teddy?
Okay.
So let's start. Where shall we start? We will start with Tyreek Hill. Yeah, well, Tyreek Hill against the DBs.
So
yeah,
how
so
hot,
I guess it's right there.
Important or
impactful
will this
impactful. There you go.
I'm going to go all the way up here because if there's anything the defensive backs of the New England Patriots have to realize is you got to take away the home run. Home run, the long ball is what Patrick Mahomes is looking for, and this is a guy that's going to give it to him. Even catch and run. When this guy catches it, you got to tackle him. His speed is something like his on-field speed is rare. And even his 0 to 5 yards, 0 to 7 yard speed is unique, that he gets up to full speed just like that so quickly that this is the matchup, whether tackling or not letting them behind you, that they really have to focus on.
So a totally different type of player, but often equally as impactful in this offense, at least in terms of Mahomes connecting with Travis Kelce. How hot is this matchup against these linebackers, Coach?
You know, altogether different than Tyreek Hill and Teddy just talked about, but I'm going to say kind of the same result in the sense of.
There you go, you got this.
All right, all the way up. I mean, this guy, you know, Patrick Mahomes loves Travis Kelce as a target. All right, I think the Patriots are going to know that. I think it's going to be very critical that they end up putting more than one guy on him. I can promise you that Bill Belichick is not going to let this guy run down the field unscathed. He's going to hit him at the line of scrimmage with outside linebackers. All right, they're going to put a variety of different people and very seldom just leave one guy on him. So, you know, again, these two guys, one thing Bill does is he's going to take away what people do best. I'm going to anticipate seeing more than one guy on Travis Kelce.
There's no doubt that's what Bill Belichick likes to do. It has been his MO for, I don't know, what, 18 years? Teddy, let's flip gears here. What about James White, who I would argue doesn't get the credit maybe that he deserves on this Patriots team?
Okay, he's important. Okay, you also have Sony Michel in the run game. You also have a lot of players that'll be important, but I'll put him right about there, a little more than half, because the extension of the running game is James White. Like I showed earlier, the passes to the flat, the screen game, over the middle. Then they, just when he's in the backfield, they think, okay, let's worry about the pass, and they'll give it to him in the run game. This is a player that's very valuable to the New England Patriots. The linebackers, I think, first have to stop Sony Michel in that run game, but James White, shovel passes, passes to the flat, how they attack those other areas. It's an extension of the run game. It's very important.
All right, speaking of the flat, 5 yards here and 4 yards there, before you know it, he has made your afternoon long and hard. Julian Edelman.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to kind of like Teddy again, possessing the ball. Third down is going to be a critical situation in this game, and Julian Edelman's their guy. The first third down last week, he went, I'm going to go about 3/4 of the way up there. And really,
you call him Teddy at the touchscreen for a reason.
His real importance is going to be on third down. First and second down, not to say he's not important, but the Kansas City Chiefs, Bob Sutton, better be aware of where Julian Edelman is, especially on third down, being able to move those chains and possess the ball and keep that Patrick Mahomes offense off the field. So, again, pretty hot, but not super hot.
Listen, it's not officially a topic, but I just can't play. I can't do our little exercise here without asking about Patrick Mahomes, for crying out loud. I mean, look, this is a rematch, and I get the Patriots figured it out to a degree in Foxborough, Teddy, but, I mean, he hasn't stopped since.
I know, in Patrick Mahomes, you have to have a specific plan. You've seen teams like the Arizona Cardinals late in the season and the New England Patriots when they see them sacrifice pass rush for pass route disruption. That's a mouthful to say.
Yeah, I like that.
You're taking rushers away to hit a Kelsey or the Cheetah before they rush on a Patrick Mahomes, because I think what you want to do is keep him in the pocket, because what they feed off in Arrowhead is him scrambling out, the no-look passes, the bombs down the field for 50, 60 yards. That's what you want to prevent.
Yeah, you don't want to give him a lot of time. And I thought in the first matchup, they did an outstanding job of spying him, cutting loose 3 guys on the pass rush, and then using a linebacker, a guy fast enough to catch him, to just mirror and spy him to make sure he doesn't buy too much time.
Van Noy got some pressures in the first matchup. Hightower got some pressures in the matchup. There was a 4-man look where Trey Flowers was here, and he got up just to hit Travis Kelce before he went on his rush. So they are aware of Mahomes' athletic ability.
I mean, at this point, he's put us all on notice, But listen, Tom Brady's been there, done that. I wouldn't take anything away from him either. The Panthers' future as a franchise, we know this, hinges on Cam Newton's health. It did not end well. So what can Carolina do to protect their franchise quarterback? We will talk about that straight ahead.